Let us begin again. It's multicolored time. Phyrexia All-Be-One limited set review, multicolored time extravaganza with me. I'm the guy that's doing it for the review stuff. Here's the tier system that I use to review the cards. Feel free to look at it and I'd be amazed at how elegant it is and how I sometimes ignore it and just kind of talk about the cards as if I'm like whatever. That's fine. Yeah, so feel free to look this over if you don't know what's going on or whatever. Oh, and yeah, and the text in the top left, you're not going to get to see what that is. There's text there. I bet you want to know what that text says, don't you? Well, you don't get to. It's just hidden right behind my face cam, so you don't get to see it. Without further ado, we're just going to get right into the cards. Number 1, starting off, alphabetical order, Atraxa, Grand Unifier. 3 green, white, blue, black for a 7/7. Flying, Vigilance, Death Touch, Lifelink. And when it enters the battlefield, you reveal the top 10 cards of your library. For each card type, you may put a card of that type from among the revealed cards into your hand. So when an ETB is, you probably draw like 4 cards or so. 3 or 4 cards. Maybe it's just like 2 cards. 2, 3, it's probably like 3, 4, I think it's like 4 cards. You probably draw like 4 cards in this set. So that's, yeah, that's pretty absurd. When you cast it, you're probably just going to win. Because like your opponent has to instantly remove it, and then when they do, they still just go like 4 for 1 or whatever. I don't know, there's enough fixing in this set to make this work too. You're going to be able to cast this, so it's just really solid. I think you're going to be able to cast it on turn 7 a decent amount of time. Not turn 7, but like when you get to 7 mana, whatever that is. And it's just an absolutely huge, enormous, like, busted card. Next, Bladehold War Whip. 1 red-white for an artifact equipment. It has 4 Mirrodin, so it makes a 2/2, and equipped abilities you activate of other equipment cost 1 less to activate. The equipped creature has double strike. Equipped for 3 red-white. Basically, this makes a 2/2 double striker when it enters the battlefield, and then has other text, like it sticks around in the late game and makes your other creatures more annoying. The other equipment text doesn't matter because you're not going to play any of the other equipment because it's all bad for the most part. It's all trash. It's all really bad. Mostly it's just all terrible, yeah. So probably just going to only be playing this, and it's fine. And maybe even this is a little too generous in terms of like where a 3-mana 2/2 double striker belongs, but like the fact that it has upside of giving your other stuff double strike is nice. It's the red-white signpost, so I don't know, I think this is, so like Boros, it's funny to think about Boros is like it's good most of the time when their theme is not equipment. And then they like every like six draft formats Wizards is like, nah, we're gonna make Boros actively bad by just making it the equipment theme again. And then it's actively bad. So that's that's what happens. It happens every time. It's every time. And here we are. Oh, I'm surprised the equipment's bad again. And so that's gonna be everybody in about a week or so. Next, Cephalopod Sentry, 2 white-blue for a flying star 5, and its power is equal to the number of artifacts you control, so it is a 1/5 to start. I'm not super high on these type of effect cards. I think generally they're pretty bad because they don't do anything by themselves, and I think that actually, like, from what I've seen, blue and white, the artifacts are kind of bad. Like, they're just kind of not really very good, so you kind of have to be going out of your way to play them. And you don't. This is not enough of a reward to go out of your way to play artifacts for. Now it is an absolute beating if it's like a 3/5 when it comes into play. Like if you make this a 4-mana 3/5 flyer, yeah, that's good. That's solid. I just think it's too much work. I think this is just doing too much work for your signpost uncommon. I'm out on this card. It does block well. I don't know. Is that good? It's fine. Next, Char Forger. 1 black red for a 2/3. When it enters the battlefield, you create a 1/1 red Phyrexian Goblin creature token. The tokens are not artifacts. Be advised, they are not artifacts. When another creature or artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put an oil counter on it. You remove 3 oil counters from it, and you may exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. So this is kind of its own nice little engine here. Plays reveal with all the proliferate stuff. I think this one's pretty good. Solid. The rate is good by itself. It's a 3 mana for a 3/4. It costs 2 bodies, which is always nice. Like as you sacrifice fodder, you're doing some sacrifice things in mostly black, but maybe like a little bit of red. This sort of helps you do that. So it's pretty good, solid. It's no Junkyard Genius, but it's very good. Next, Cinder / Ravager. 4 red-green for a 5/5. Costs 1 less to cast for each permanent you control with an oil counter on it. Has Vigilance, and when it enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each creature your opponents control. So, in red-green, this is going to cost like 4 mana sometimes on turn 4, and that's going to be like really, really strong. Like that's pretty insane, right? Like 4 mana for a 5/5 Vigilance that deals 1 to all your stuff, opponent's stuff, is extremely strong, and I think that's what this is enough at the time that this is just like a really strong card. So I think this is really like you're just like red and green just have so much oil stuff going on that you're just always gonna have this. You're always gonna be playing this thing, and it's always gonna be strong in your deck. So even if like the worst case scenario you have to play this for 6, is it that bad? Yeah, it's like kind of that bad, but it's not like that bad, right? I don't know. Seems fine. Next. Azuri, Stalker of Spheres. 2 green-blue for a 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay 3 if you do proliferate twice. Whenever you proliferate, draw a card. So, this card, I don't like this card at all. I don't really understand why they had to make it bad instead of good. Like this card, you could have just had it do something when it enters the battlefield. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can pay 3 and make it a 7 mana 3/3. Is that what you want to do? Is making 7 mana 3/3s unlimited? Is that good? And it's not good. It's not good. It's not good. It's not what you want to be doing. It does draw cards when you proliferate, but you're probably just playing this as a 4 mana 3/3. And I don't know. There are some games where this is like insane at like turn 7. Like we cast it for 7 mana, it's insane. But I think generally it's kind of just bad. So, yep. Next, Glissa, Sunslayer. 1 black-green for a 3/3 first strike death touch. When it deals combat damage to a player, you choose 1, you draw a card, and use 1 life, you destroy target enchantment, and you remove up to 3 counters from target permanent. Which in this set might actually just kill stuff, so... Yep, this is really strong. It's basically unblockable. It also blocks extremely well. Like, it basically can't be blocked, and also makes it so your opponent can't attack. So, it does the fact that it does both of those things really well is really strong, and it's just insanely... This is another candidate for best rare in the set. It's insanely powerful, so... Next, Jor Kadeen, first Gold Warden. It's a red and a white for a 2/2 trample. When it attacks, it gets +X/+S, where X is the number of equipped creatures you control. Then, if its power is 4 or greater, draw a card. Stop trying to make equipment happen. It's not going to happen. This card is like fine. It's like a 2 mana 2/2 trample, and you're probably the other part text on the card probably doesn't matter. If you can make it. Like, if you can just, like, honestly, like, this is better if you just put a combat trick on it and then make it be 4 power and then draw a card. That's better than the other thing. I don't know why his left hand is so small, though. That's the one question I have, is why his left hand is so tiny. So, if somebody can figure that out, that would be nice. I know it's supposed to be, like, it just looks like I know it's not, like, it's just a pose or whatever, but it looks like he's, like, a tiny hand or whatever. Anyways. Next, Kaito, Dancing Shadow, 2 blue-black for a 3 loyalty planeswalker. Has a static ability. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you may return 1 of them to its owner's hand. You may activate loyalty abilities Kaito twice this turn rather than only once, which is just insanely strong. Basically, sort of, doing a bunch of stuff. Its +1 is up to 1 target creature can't attack or block until your next turn. Its 0 is draw a card, and its -2 is you create a 2/2 drone that drains your opponent for 2 when it leaves the battlefield. Yeah, this thing's just really insanely strong. Like, it takes over the game very quickly. If you have stuff in play, and if it goes uncontested, it just really runs away with everything. So, It is very good. Next, Kaya, Intangible Slayer. 3 white, white, black, black for a 6 loyalty, hexproof planeswalker. Each opponent, +2, each opponent loses 3 life, and you gain 3 life. 0, you draw 2 cards, then each opponent may scry 1. Oh, can't, can't. I gotta let him scry 1. And then -3, exile target creature or an enchantment if it wasn't an aura. Create a token that is a copy of it, except it is a 1/1 spirit flying in addition to its other types. So this thing's just really insane. Like, this is just absurd. Yep, you can't splash it at all, really, which is probably good, because if you could, it would just be, like, you just see this all the time, and it would just kill you. But yeah, this thing's really strong. If I thought the removal, aspect of this is not even, yes, it's 7 mana, but, they can't just, destroy it either. They have to attack it. How do you beat this card, right? If your opponent casts this card, how do you beat it? You don't. You don't beat it. You just lose. You always lose every time. Yeah. Right? They exile your creature, and then it's just well, guess I'm getting drained for 3 every turn. And then so they exile your creature. You can't kill this. There's just no way to kill it. They tick back up to 5, drain them for 3. And they're well, I still can't kill this Kaya because it's just impossible. It's not doable. So I don't know if you can ever beat this card if it resolves. I don't know if it's possible. I'm not sure. Next, Kethic, Crucible Goliath, 2 black red for a 4/4. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-legendary creature card with lesser mana value. Put it onto the battlefield, and then put the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. So basically, it has Cascade, but you have to sacrifice a thing to Cascade, so you probably don't want to do that. So yeah, kind of just a 4-mana 4/4 mostly. If you really need a free sacrifice outlet, this does that. But it basically gives you no value. So, I don't know, it sometimes gives you some value, a little bit. It's fine. Next, Luca, Bound to Ruin. 2 red, Phyrexian hybrid, red-green, and a green. For a 5 loyalty planeswalker, +1, add red-green. You can spend this mana only to cast creature spells or activate abilities of creatures. -1, you create a 3/3 Phyrexian Beast token with Toxic 1. -4, it deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers, where X is the greatest power among creatures you controlled as you activated this ability, which is a nice little piece of text at the end there. Makes it so it is guaranteed to hit and not get blown out. Yeah, it just does all the, there's really nothing to evaluate here on this card. It's just a tier 1 card. There's no really point in figuring out how much better it is than the other cards. It's just really good. So, yeah. Next, Malcator, Purity Overseer, 1 white blue for a 1/1, and when it enters the battlefield, you create a 3/3 colorless Phyrexian Golem artifact creature token. And at the beginning of your end step, if 3 or more artifacts enter the battlefield under your control this turn, you create a 3/3 colorless Phyrexian Golem artifact creature token. So, it's interesting, right? If you play this and you also play 2 other artifacts, you just make 2 golems on turn 1 that you cast it, which is pretty absurd. Yeah, I don't know. This thing's just nuts. It's just really good rate, and then you can bounce it. There's 1 bounce spell. It's very expensive, but yeah, great to bounce and do other stuff with. So just a very good card. Next, Malaria, the Living Cure. Green, white for a 3/3. If you would get 1 or more poison counters, instead you get 1 poison counter and can't get additional poison counters this turn. You can exile it. Choose another target creature or artifact. When it's put into the graveyard this turn, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. So basically it protects it. It's actually better. Oh no, it's not quite better than hexproof because it gives it indestructible. It doesn't give it hexproof, basically, is what it does. So yeah, it's really, really good. Also just a 2-mana 3/3. also, which is hits. Gets the beats in. Next, Miglaw's Maze Crusher. 1 red green for a 4/4 enters the battlefield with 5, count 'em, 5 oil counters on it. You can pay 1 and remove an oil counter from it. It gains vigilance and menace until end of turn. You can pay 2 and remove 2 oil counters from it, and it gets +2/+2 until another turn. You can do multiple of these, by the way. You can pay 3 and remove 3 oil counters from it, and you can destroy target artifact or enchantment. So it just does everything. So it's just really, really strong. It's solid. Just insanely good. Next is Nahiri the Unforgiving. 1 red-white and a hybrid red-white for a 5 loyalty planeswalker. There's 2+1s. One of them discard a card, then draw a card. One of them is until your next turn, up to 1 target creature. Attacks a player, not a planeswalker, a player, each combat if able. You can pay 0 and exile target creature equipment card. Mana value less than Nahiri's loyalty from your graveyard. You create a token that's a copy of it. That token gains haste, and you exile it at the beginning of the next end step. So this is kind of meh, in my opinion. It doesn't really do an especially great job of protecting itself. It kind of just like dies. It doesn't really gain a ton of like value. It can help filter your stuff a little bit. The 0 to get your stuff back is not especially interesting. I don't know. This just kind of feels like a meh planeswalker to me. It's still fine and limited. Like, it's still good. It's just not game-breakingly good, I think, is sort of my view on it. It's not going to take over the game, really. But yeah, it can sort of like pseudo-remove your opponent's stuff, but not like really. Next, Necrogen Rock Priest. 3 black-green for a 1/5 with Toxic 2. Whenever a creature you control with Toxic deals combat damage to a player, that player gets an additional poison counter. And it has one ability, 1 black-green target creature you control with Toxic gains death touch until end of turn. So it has this sort of activation. That's fantastic. It can do it for itself. So it like gets into 3, which is really nice. It's like hard to kill. It's like, this is just a really nice little signpost here. I really like it a lot. I think it's very solid. I think it will contribute decently to this archetype. No, I don't think green-black's going to be like especially great without it. But I don't know. We'll see. Hard to know for sure. Next, Avika, Enigma Goliath. 5 blue-red and for a 6/6 flyer, ward 3, and also pay 3 life. When you cast a non-creature spell, create X for 1 red Phyrexian goblin creatures, but X is the mana value of the spell. They gain haste until end of turn. Like, this is insane, right? But here's the problem, right? It's 7 mana. Like, it should be insane. Like, it should be really insane. But, like, if this is answerable, it doesn't immediately take over the game. It's very expensive. Like, your opponent needs to find a move for it, but they have time to do that. They have, like, a turn to do that. They should have a lot of mana to do that. They should be able to pay this ward. Yeah, it's going to hurt. Like, maybe this should be tier 1. Maybe I would record my words and my deeds and say, like, this was better than this. But, like, it's just so like, the expensiveness makes it so hard for me to believe that this is, like, top tier. But maybe it just is. Next, Rhea Ivor, Bane of Bladehold. 2 white-black for a 3/4 with Battle Cry. At the beginning of combat on turn, the next time target creature would deal combat damage to 1 or more players this combat, prevent that damage. If damage is prevented this way, create that many 1/1 colorless might tokens. So this makes a bunch of huge guys and then gets to attack and make all those guys bigger and more difficult to block. Yeah, it's just really strong. It does the thing on the turn that you play it, so you can like make the mites immediately. Like, you play this on turn 4, attack with your 3-drop, and then like either force your opponent to trade or not, and then they like have to, and then you can just like remove the. It's just so good. It just takes over the game by itself really early. Next, Serum Core Chimera. 2 blue-red for a 2/4 flying. When you cast a non-creature spell, put an oil counter on it. Oh boy. And then you can remove 3 oil counters from it. You can draw a card. Then you may discard an non-land card. When you discard a card this way, it deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker, and you can only activate this ability as a sorcery. There's a lot of text on this card. It does a lot of weird things, but at the end of the day, it is a 4-mana 2/4 flyer that can sometimes draw you cards, which is good. And sometimes it deals damage, which is also good. All of those things that it does are good. And that's And that makes it decent. Next, Slaughter Singer. Green-white for a 2/2 toxic 2. Whenever a creature you control with toxic attacks, another creature, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. I'm really low on green-white, which means it's probably really good, but I'm pretty low on it right now. And this is sort of one of the reasons why. Like this just doesn't do enough for me. I'm unimpressed by this. I think it's fine. Yeah. Again, like it kind of like helps your toxic stuff get through, but like it doesn't ever get through and deal with the toxic 2 thing ever. It doesn't happen. So like I don't know, it's hard to see this thing taking over the game like some of the signposts will. Next, Tainted Observer. 1 green-blue for a 2/3 flying with toxic 1. Whenever another creature is under the battlefield under your control, you may pay 2 if you do proliferate. This seems insane to me. This card just seems nuts. So like, flying plus toxic is already like a really good combination of abilities. This thing like, it's just like 3 mana 2/3 flyer is fine. Okay, 3 mana 2/3 flyer toxic 1, yeah, that's really good. That's like a tier 2 card, I think. 3 mana 2/3 like toxic 1 when another creature enters the battlefield, like start taking away at the toxic that your opponent already has, but this thing is put onto it, and then you can just like, and like this is just an engine to kill them by itself. It's just like a 1 card engine to just kill your opponent. It's just really, really strong. So maybe this is a little bit overrating it, but this thing seems like really, really good. Next, Tyvar, Jubilant Brawler. 1 black-green for a 3 mana Planeswalker. You may activate abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. Elves are free, everybody. The elves are free. Untap up to 1 target creature. As the +1, and you can also -2 and mill 3 cards, and then you may return a creature card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this is solid. Really good. Nothing game breaking. Just a good card. Just provides value. Early in the game, maybe I'm really stupid and just like forgetting that this is only 3 mana, and then that's like not good enough, but you do kind of need creatures to interact with it. And it kind of like needs help. So it doesn't just do it by itself, it does need help. That's sort of why it's not as high as some of the other cards. Next, Venser Corpse Puppet. Blue-black for a 1/3 with lifelink and toxic 1. When you proliferate, choose 1. If you don't control a 3/3 golem, you make a 3/3 golem, or a target artifact creature you control gains flying and lifelink until end of turn. So yeah, this thing just makes a 3/3 golem sometimes, and then it just makes like, then it can make it fly. Yeah, that's what it's doing. So I don't really have anything else to say about that specifically. That's Venser. He's good. He's really strong. Next, Vivisection Evangelist, 3 white black for a 4/4 vigilance. Has corrupted. And enters the battlefield if an opponent has 3 or more poison counters, destroy target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. It is simple as that. It is insane. It's so good. Just like completely destroys everything. Yep, but just does like a 2-for-1, and there's also like if you were to just play this as a 5 mana 4/4 vigilance, that would be like a tier 3 card. I think that's not completely embarrassing, and then you just sometimes, and by sometimes I mean literally every time, get to destroy something. So also hits planeswalkers, which is nice. Next, and this is the final card of the multicolored cards, Voidwing Hybrid, blue-black for a 2/1 flying toxic 1. When you proliferate, you return it from your graveyard to your hand. It's just basically unkillable. Now, I probably shouldn't put this in tier 1. I should probably put it in tier 2. But my heart wants it in tier 1. My heart says, oh, tier 1, that's so good. My heart is probably a little bit overrating this card. But like, you just play this on turn 2 and you just start attacking, and your opponent's like, okay, I have to kill that. And then, like, there's some exile removal. There's a decent amount where like this thing like doesn't, whatever, like completely take over the game. But like then you just get it back, and it's just like, man, I got it. Like, because you always get it back. Like, you're always proliferating in blue-black. That's what you're doing. And this thing just like comes back, and then you just get to cast it again, like later. And then is it the flying thing your opponent has to get rid of again, and then it just comes back, and then yeah. So that's it. That's it for this one. So thanks for watching. hope you gain some insight, some intelligence from about the set that is going to come out in like a week or so, or 2 weeks, I guess. I don't know. It's pretty far out. But yeah, see you.